Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Tebello Motwane. I'm an attorney and the founder of a platform called Sister-in-Law, which is a platform dedicated to empowering women through legal education. So before I dive into today's topic, I just want to tell you guys about my social media pages, which really have a lot of content relating to the stuff I've shared on YouTube, and it all pertains to child maintenance, marriage law, divorce law, insurance law, wills and estate planning, buying property. There is just so much educational content on all my social media platforms, and I want to tell you to go and follow those pages now. Well, I mean after watching this video, but go follow those pages because there's quite a lot of heart and soul that goes into posting that educational content, and I thought I should tell you before today's topic starts rather than at the end, because I know once I come to the end you guys generally log out to save data, which is a good thing, but at least now you know to follow my social media pages, which will appear at the bottom of your screen. But in case you don't catch it, it's at sister_in_law_, which is both on Instagram and Twitter, which is mainly where I share a lot of information. I do share stuff on Facebook as well, which is Sister-in-Law SA, and then I also share stuff in my personal capacity, which is at bells_Motwane on both Instagram and Twitter. You can also read articles pertaining to various aspects of the law on my website, which is www.sisterinlaw.co.za. I hope you guys dive into all of that, and make sure that when you do send me emails or questions or comments or DMs, whatever the case is, make sure that you've at least tried to look for the information that I've shared, because I can't tell you how many times people ask information that I've already shared. You can also purchase my ebook, or rather e-guide, on my website www.sisterinlaw.co.za, which retails at 60 Rand, which generally covers all the frequently asked questions relating to various aspects of specifically family law. So visit the website now and purchase your ebook. So today's topic is an interesting one. It relates to Nandi and Zakes Bantwini. I saw on social media that there was articles going around about them realizing that they had entered into the wrong or incorrect marriage contract, and some of those articles appeared to make it seem like people can contract into incommunity of property. From what I've read, my understanding is that they thought that the contract they were in was in community of property, was out of community of property. Meanwhile, the contract they had signed relates to in community of property. Anyway, you can see the confusion on my face because I am very confused myself. But just to clarify some of those articles doing the rounds from very credible news houses as well. In our South African law, and according to the Matrimonial Property Act, your marriage is considered to be automatically in community of property if you do not sign an anti-nuptial contract. I've spoke extensively about anti-nuptial contracts in previous posts or previous videos, and also on my social media platforms that I mentioned earlier. But just a short, quick recap: if you're married in community of property, then your assets and the debts that you had before marriage form part of the joint estate after marriage. So it means that if you had a loan in varsity and your spouse had, or rather your partner had various judgment debts against him for child maintenance, for example, or whatever the case is, and you guys get married and you don't sign an anti-nuptial contract, then you guys are going to share those debts. You're also going to share the profits of the joint estate. And upon divorce or dissolution of your marriage by either divorce or death, each party walks away with 50% of the joint estate. So it's going to be split in half. You'll take your 50, he'll take his 50. Obviously, if there are debts, the creditors will have a claim against you and your ex, post the divorce or whatever the case is. So that is in community of property in short. Basically, you share assets, you share liabilities. Then when you have an anti-nuptial contract, which is supposed to be done before the marriage, which I also generally advise, especially black people, to consider doing it before the lobola negotiations, which sometimes turn into lobola, or which sometimes turn into celebrations, thus qualifying, plus meeting the requirements of a customary marriage. Then I want you guys to consider signing those ANCs before you actually take lobola negotiations further. So basically, when you have an antenuptial contract, you will be said to be married out of community of property, and within that applies with accrual or without accrual. What with accrual basically means is that at the end of your marriage, so through, if it's dissolved either through divorce or death, then the party whose estate shows the most growth will have to share with the party whose estate showed the least growth. So if you and your partner at the end of the marriage, one of you has 1.5 million and the other one has 1.2 million, what the court is going to do is subtract 1.2 million from 1.5 million. Then that difference of 300k will be split evenly between the two of you. And that's basically the law's way of trying to, have a hybrid system between out of community of property and in community of property, which also allows for the parties to at least walk away from the marriage on equal footing. The last regime is marriage out of community of property without accrual. That means that, the favorite example that I've used, if you've been consistent to this channel, is you each come in with your apple. Each apple comes into the marriage, and when you walk away from the marriage, or when the marriage is dissolved by way of death, then each person walks away with their apple. This apple will have its own debts and liabilities, and the other apple will have its own debts and liabilities. None of you will, be implicated if one partner is insolvent or whatever the case is, and you just basically walk away on a clean break. So back to the Zakes and the Nandi situation. When a couple or a married couple figures out that they are actually married in community of property, and they then learn the disadvantages of being married in community of property, and then they wish to change their regime, they may do so upon jointly applying to the High Court to change their marriage from in community of property to out of community of property. In order for the court to allow this to happen, the court has to be satisfied of a number of things. Firstly, that no parties will be prejudiced by this change. So basically, there will be an investigation into the assets of the estate, the liabilities of the estate, and obviously the court will try to make sure that dissolution of that specific marriage regime isn't going to be to the disadvantage of the other spouse or any other creditors. The other thing that the court is going to check for is that no creditors will be prejudiced from the dissolution of the marriage regime, the existing marriage regime. And in order for that to happen, you also have to notify creditors ahead of the application, or before the application will be granted. Then the court is also going to see to the fact that all interested parties have been notified of the change of marriage regime. And once it's satisfied that those requirements have been met, then the court will grant an order allowing you to change from in community of property to out of community of property, or from out of community of property with or without accrual to either or. Okay, so if you didn't get that, please rewind and then just listen to it again, and hopefully we'll be on the same page. So after that happens, once you have the court order granting the change, you then have to see a notary who's going to assist you in drafting a post-nuptial agreement. Post-nuptial agreement is similar to a antenuptial contract. The only difference is that the post-nuptial is now done after the marriage, whereas an ANC is done before the marriage. And the benefits of doing this antenuptial contract before your marriage is that it's cheaper. It's cheaper, and who doesn't want cheaper? But a lot of couples appear to be, focusing on flowers, wedding dresses, makeup, and not so much the legalities. But it is within your interest to really consider having an antenuptial contract drafted before you get married, and also having an honest conversation with your partner about this. So just to round off this conversation, the takeaway from this is that you are able to change your marriage from in to out of community of property. If you want to listen to the advantages and disadvantages of each of the marriage regimes, I will put up a link where I've shared that information in the past. And what else can we take away from this? Oh yeah. It's rather costly to pursue a post-nuptial agreement than pursuing an antenuptial contract before the marriage. For example, if you're looking to have an antenuptial contract drafted, depending on which attorney you see, obviously, if you see myself, you'll be looking at about 3,500 $500 to about $4,500 to draft your antenuptial contract, depending on whether you choose with or without accrual. And if you're looking to do a post-nuptial agreement, because there's a high court application involved, you're looking at around 40 to 50,000 rand for the court application, and then looking at another 3.5 to 4.5 for the post-nuptial agreement. So it's always within your best interest to actually pursue having an antenuptial contract before you get married or before the lobola negotiations take place. I've mentioned lobola negotiations take place before they take place because there's been a lot of issues about validity of customary marriages and whether there was indeed a marriage, concluded, if certain aspects of custom hadn't been met and so forth. I've also shared that video before. So what you need to do is just scroll, subscribe to my channel like I said you should, share this with everybody, and encourage them to subscribe to the channel because I'm always posting very educational content on especially marriage and divorce laws. Until next time, keep well guys. Bye.